Marcy Quint. So for today's video, I wanted to go ahead and work on a little DIY. So I have this coffee bar area that I've never been super happy with. You know, there are areas in your house where you're like, yes, I love that, I wouldn't change anything about it. It's, you know, it just makes you so happy every time you see it. And then there are other spots in your house where you're like, no. There's something, you know, something's got to change. So today is the day for that. So what I wanted to do was I'm going to go ahead and take everything down, and I'll show you the before. And I want to go ahead and install some open shelving. And my house is kind of like a modern, industrial, somewhere in between there. So I am going to be installing some steel hardware on those shelves. So if you're like me and you love those home DIY videos, then this is the video for you, so just keep on watching.
So this is the area that we will be working on today. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove everything that is here in the center. I'm also gonna take down the sign that's on top. I'm not quite sure about what I'm gonna do with that wine holder and the cup holder, but I'll probably just leave them there. But this is what we're working with today. All right, so I am out in my backyard now because I needed to go ahead and spray paint these. So if you're wondering what size these are a half, it says right here, these are 1/2 inch fittings, and these are the little knobs that are the little end caps, and these are also a 1/2 inch. And I just went ahead and spray painted them because I didn't like the color that they were. So usually when you purchase these, are like this kind of silvery, like gray in between color. So I wanted to spray paint them more of like a matte black. I just went ahead and used the Rust-Oleum all surface paint and primer in black. I used the satin finish just because I didn't want it to look too matte. So this gives it just enough of a shine to where it looks nice, but you know, it's not super matte, which I liked. So just went ahead and spray painted those. They're already nice and dry. So now I'm gonna go ahead and stain the shelves, and that way they have a nice time to dry while I'm cleaning everything out.
Okay, so now that we have everything spray painted, we want to go ahead and put our pieces together. So I spray painted the steel pipes and also the little caps and also the flange here. So the first thing I'm going to do is start assembling these together and putting all the caps, and I think I want to put the caps over here on this side. And all I'm going to do is screw them in, and I've got 6 of these since I'm building 3 shelves, just like that. So I'm actually outside with the 3 shelves that I'm going to be using, and I'm just using, this is like a 1 by 9 1/4 inch wood, and I had them cut them down to size, and you can just ask anybody at your local hardware store and they'll go ahead and trim it down to whatever size you're looking for. So all I'm going to be using is this dark walnut wood stain here. And I'm not going to be using
a brush because I don't like the look of the brush strokes. So I'm just using a rag, and yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish up these 3. And depending on how dark you want it, that's really going to depend on how many coats you're gonna give it. With this color, watch, let me show you. With this color, like the very first coat is pretty light. So with what I'm looking for as far as like my aesthetic, it looks like I'm gonna have to give it about 3 coats, and this type of wood stain actually dries relatively quickly, so it really shouldn't take very long. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to work. And don't forget to wear gloves, guys, because wood stain on those hands and those nails, especially if you just got them nails did, it's not gonna look cute. So make sure you wear gloves and protect yourselves, and try and whenever you're using stain or paint or anything like that, try and do it outdoors, just because you don't want to be inhaling those fumes. Done. So another little tip when you're choosing your wood stain, make sure that you try it out on the same type of wood, maybe like somewhere towards the bottom, just to make sure that it is the right color and the right tone for your home. Because a lot of times, like, look at the color here, and look at this piece of wood. You see what I mean? Like, it's hella dark on the picture, but as soon as I applied it to my wood, it doesn't look like it at all. Now, I've worked with this stain before, so I know that it's gonna take a few coats to make it look, you know, a little bit darker and maybe a little bit closer to this, but that color is deceiving. So just a little tip, make sure that you check it on a corner of something before you start applying it all over your project. So I've got my first shelf already propped up here, and I just used a couple of books to kind of prop it, to kind of see about how high I want the first shelf to be. And I want it to be about this high because I do have other things that are going to go down here, so I wanted to make sure that it would fit. And I do have my level here just to make sure that everything is nice and straight. Now the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and use my stud finder to make sure I know exactly where I'm going to be drilling, and that way it's nice and supported. I found my studs. I already kind of leveled out exactly where I want the shelf to be, and so now I've already inserted the first flange to go in and put in my pole. So that's the same thing that I'm doing on this side. I've only drilled in one because I wanted to make sure that it was exactly where I wanted it to be, and 2, that I had actually found my stud, which I have. So I've gone ahead and finished drilling these in, and now in order to create my second shelf, I'm going to use my laser level, and all I did was, see here how they have the little corners? Well, all I'm doing is setting up the corner onto this one. I'm turning on the little light, and it creates a straight line. So all I'm doing is making sure that the level is straight, and then I'll go ahead and just make a little note, make a little dot of how high I want it, and then I go ahead and point it in this direction. So now the line is running horizontally,
and then I'll match it up with the other side in order to create a nice straight shelf. So I've gone ahead and finished installing the second flanges and the steel bars. And I haven't screwed this in yet, but I was just testing it to make sure that it was level, and it is, and it's in the spot where I want it to. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing for the very top shelf, and then we can start hooking it in. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and I've installed all three on this side and all three on this side, and I've placed the board on each different level, and they all level out. So that's awesome. So now I'm going to use these little brackets, and I'll bring it in so that you can see. So these little brackets actually go under, let's see, they go under the little tubing, so just like this. And then if you notice, they've got the little holes here, and that's so that you could put in your screw, and this will screw into underneath the wood board that we're going to use. So this will go in here, and then once the board sits on top, then I'll go ahead and screw it, so that way the board doesn't shift around. So I've gone ahead and I pre-drilled where I want the brackets to go. So a little tip, make sure that you use a drill bit about just slightly smaller than the wood screw that you're going to use. That way it's a lot easier for you to be able to screw the wood screws back in. Because if you try to just drill the wood screws in without, you know, first drilling a little hole for it, then it's going to be pretty difficult to do, and it's probably not going to go in straight. And that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, if you're able to follow those steps as far as making sure everything's level, making sure you're drilling where there's a stud, because obviously you're going to want to display all of your pretty decorations on there, maybe some of your dishes, some of your favorite dishes, and those do hold some weight to it. So you just want to make sure that you are drilling in the brackets into an actual stud, and it makes it so much easier to do that if you have a stud finder. And make sure that you get a good one, because a lot of the less expensive ones, they don't go in deep enough. So the depth behind the wall, I mean, the stud could be pretty far away, so it's not going to be able to accurately read it. So just make sure that you get one kind of in the medium price range. It'll cost you about maybe $20–30 or so to get a pretty decent one, and that's going to go a long way, and you know, you'll have more accurate results, and you're not going to have to worry about what you can and can't put on your shelves for fear of them toppling down. And other than that, also getting the laser level. If you're doing the project by yourself, then yes, please go ahead and get that, because without that, I wouldn't be able to tell if my markings were the same size, the same level, without having somebody here and kind of eyeball it, or actually like using a measuring tape to do that. So get a leveler, a laser leveler, and that way that draws an accurate line. And as you can see, my shelves are perfectly straight and they are perfectly level. So now comes the fun part. Now I get to decorate them, and I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like in a second. I'm just gonna dust everything off, and yeah, I'll show you what it looks like at the end. So it's such an easy project to do, especially if you have, you know, the weekend free. You could get it done within a day. If you know, start early enough. I started it later in the afternoon, so it took me a little while, and I was also doing it by myself. So if you do have somebody to help you, the process is going to go so much faster. But this is such an easy project for you to do on your own, and it will not take you very long, and it won't break the bank. Because if you order like custom shelving, oh my gosh, it's so expensive. And I really feel like it made this space so much better, so much brighter, and not to mention now I have more storage. So if these are the kinds of videos that you like to see and you want to see a few more DIYs, then please make sure to hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I will be adding a few more DIYs in the future, and I know that Halloween is coming up and it's one of my favorite holidays. So if you want to see how I transform these shelves into more like Haunted Mansion inspired Halloween decorations, then please go ahead and subscribe because that video is going to be coming up very soon. Once again, my name is Marcia Quint, and I will see you next time. Thanks again, guys. Bye.